I'm going to get in bed with Joan. And I'm wearing my pajamas, which I thought everybody wore their pajamas because they're actually getting in bed with Joan. But turns out nobody wears their pajamas. So I feel a little silly.
Welcome to In Bed with Joan, and let's see who's going to come out of my closet today. Hello?
Hi.
Alyssa Milano, all right. And you're in pajamas.
I'm so excited to be here.
And you wore these because you thought you were coming in bed with me.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah.
show's called In Bed with Joan.
Yes, but I sleep nude. Join the party or not, your choice. Now, you're dyslexic.
Yes.
All right, so welcome to Joan in Bed With.
Right.
How did they find out you were dyslexic?
Well, my mom's dyslexic, so she was the one that was always very aware of the potential of, you know, having dyslexic children, because for her it was really hard. She, you know, they put her in classes with kids that had major issues, and you know, she just turned letters around. And you know, we know now that it's a learning difference, and we just learn differently.
Do you see your baby yet? Have any? How old is he?
He's almost 2, and I notice things like and I don't know if this is a dyslexia thing or just like a normal 2-year-old thing, but like the number 3, he sometimes thinks is 8, 6 and 9s. He gets confused.
But at 2.
I know. At 2.
At 2. Yeah. That's,
well, hopefully.
I had a high school boyfriend who I think was dyslexic because he always used to say to me, "Turn over." And I figured. Meanwhile, what I find fascinating about you, at 8, you went in an audition for Annie and got...
Yeah. Well, the story gets even weirder than
All
that.
right.
My mom was a fashion designer at the time. She used to have these fashion shows that had dancers in them instead of models, because it was sort of like, you know, active evening wear. And one of the dancers was my babysitter. She had an equity card. She used to audition for theater all the time. And she babysat for me one Saturday, on a Saturday that she really wanted to go on an open Annie audition for herself for one of the ensemble people. And we got there, and I was actually 7 when I auditioned, and there were kids on stage, and they were singing and dancing, and I loved to sing and dance. And she said, "Do you want to audition?" I had no idea what that meant, but I wanted to go up on stage and sing and dance. And there were 1,500 kids, and 4 were picked.
Were you nervous when you got it? Did you realize this is a life changer?
The only time that it got really sketchy for me was we were rehearsing, and there was one step that I could not get. And I think it actually had to do with my dyslexia, because it was like I had to step and then go on my right foot and then left foot and then do a turn, and I still remember it, of course, but I remember leaving the stage crying hysterically because I just couldn't get it. My mom came in, she was like, "We can go home right now. You know, don't put this pressure on yourself. If you want to do this, I'm behind you, but..."
Did you ever get it?
Yeah, I got it, you know, right after I cried. It sort of relieved whatever anxiousness I had about it.
Now, you went from Annie, and then you went into Who's the Boss?
I got Who's the Boss from New York. I was 10 years old, and I didn't know. It was actually called You're the Boss at the time. I didn't know anything about it except that it was going to star the cute guy from Taxi. That's how I referred to Tony Danza.
Tony Danza.
Yes. And I flew to Los Angeles and auditioned at the ABC Entertainment Center, which was a million years ago. And it was 30 years ago now. And I remember feeling very, very intimidated because the furniture was really big and I felt the ceilings were really high. And it was at the time where people still smoked everywhere. So I walked into a very smoky room, and there was Tony, and I auditioned, and they told me right there that I had gotten the part. And we shot the pilot, and then I went back to New York, sort of forgot about it, because, you know, those things take a while. And I found out that the show was picked up from Entertainment Tonight.
This is
Nobody
so,
called. Yep.
This is so show business. Were you hit immediately? Right out of the box?
No. The first year we were against Family Ties, and we were in like the bottom 10 in the Nielsen ratings. Horrible. We did so horribly. But that was the time when if a network believed in you, they'd figure out a night to make it work. You know, now it's very different. If you don't get those numbers immediately. They pull you. But then it was, and when they moved us, and we were on after Happy Days. That's how long this was, and we became a top 10 show, and we were on the air for 8 years.
Are you still friendly with anyone? Like, do you go to visit Tony Danza, watch him in Cabaret, or Judith Light on Broadway, or Danny Pinturo?
Yes.
Do you ever go like to the Happy Fist gay bar and just say hello? You know?
No,
Do you keep up with anybody?
We keep in touch via email and stuff like that, but I haven't seen them in a lot of years. It was kind of a rough time because I was 11 to 19.
Very rough for a girl.
Very rough for a girl
Right.
to do anything for that long. And, you know, I felt like I was missing out on like a normal social time in my life.
And you
as
were.
a teenager. And I was, yeah. I mean, I didn't know any better because that's what my life entailed, but I fantasized about, you know, going to regular high school and doing all of that.
Who have you worked with that you really learned from?
Sir John Gielgud for sure.
Did you call him Sir John?
Yes. Yeah, the Canterville Ghost. And the thing that he taught me was because he was 80 when we shot that movie, and he had these huge monologues that he would remember. And I asked him how he remembered his lines. You know, I was maybe 12. And he said, I simply write them down. And that was such a cool tool because not only does it help you to remember, but it kind of helps to make the dialogue more your own.
You played Amy Fisher because Amy Fisher was this little Long Island slutty kind of girl who had a big affair with Joey Buttafuoco, and Amy went to her house and shot her wife,
His wife.
Mary Buttafuoco, in the face.
Yes.
And they made a movie.
They made 3 television movies about it.
3 television movies. And you got to play.
I got to play the perspective from the Buttafuocos.
Oh.
So Amy was a little psycho. Yeah.
So
And,
they made
and
Amy became great. And
Yeah.
Mary, who shot her whole face, I still love him. You know,
Yeah, that's right.
and she really did
She
in real
stood
life.
by him, and then after all of that, they got divorced like 20 years later.
And it's just so stupid.
Is that so crazy?
Yeah.
It's so crazy. But yeah, that was fun. That was kind of, you know, those movies of the week you shoot in like 18 days and they're fast and furious. And but I like the fact that I got to play the psycho version because there was also a version from her point of view, which made him look like the psycho.
Right.
And then a really neutral one that was, I don't know, probably on CBS. Right.
What of all the projects that you've done has been your favorite so far?
Probably Charmed. We were together for 8 years, and I was so close to the crew. And it was really hard to take ourselves seriously because we were running around vanquishing demons in funny costumes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So there was a lightness on the set that made it really fun. And plus, it was very formative years of my life. I mean, I was married and then divorced very quickly, and you know, I purchased my first house, and you know, all of those things that are monumental in your life happened during that time. So when the show ended, when after 8 years, I stayed in bed and cried for 2 weeks straight. Oh. It was so hard. Yeah, but I loved that experience, and I think I really loved doing Melrose Place too. And when you asked me the question about who I learned things from, it's funny because Heather Locklear, who is this very humble, sweet woman. And there is sort of a pecking order of when a cast member is listed on the call sheet. And Heather was number 1 on the Melrose Place call sheet, rightfully so. And I was so impressed by the way in which she conducted herself on the set and what that meant to her. And she really taught me what it meant to sort of carry a show and to be supportive to everyone and to work hard but never have it be too hard that the set is miserable. So I have to thank her a lot for sort of guiding that. You know, often in my business you learn what not to do. You know, you don't learn what to do because there's a lot
Hear that?
There's a lot of bad behavior in this business that is allowed.
Well, this
and
crew is
permissible.
just, don't
Yeah,
go there.
they're rough.
Yeah, this is a rough crew. You have a clause about nudity in one of your contracts.
I used to when I did nudity, yeah.
Yeah, you don't do it anymore.
No, nobody wants to see me naked anymore. I don't even think my husband wants to see me naked anymore.
But what was the clause? That they could only shoot you at certain angles, or you had to have approval?
I had editing approval, yeah. And that was at a time where it was very hard to get such things. Now it's kind of standard, but yeah. And, you know, when you asked about the transition from being a child actor to adult actor,
and being
unfortunately,
accepted as
that came along with nudity for me.
Well, look at Miley Cyrus, who's gone totally the other way.
I don't think Miley's going through like a conscious thing of like, well, I'm just going to do a 180 completely. I just think she's trying to figure it out.
Which she certainly has.
Yeah.
There's
I love
some
her.
figuring out. Yeah, I mean, she is just
love
totally forgotten
And
that she was a Disney kid. I mean, it's all gone.
Have you ever been in a room with her?
No.
There are certain people that just have that thing, that star thing. And I was in a room with her, and yes, of course, you. I was in a room with her, and she has that. There is a white light around her that is undeniable. That girl is a star.
Mistresses. Are you having fun doing that?
Love it, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say fun because it's emotionally a very hard show to do.
Why?
My character in the first episode has an affair on her husband.
I like that. But it's acting.
It's acting, but then she finds out she's pregnant. She doesn't know who the daddy is. Her marriage is so it's a lot of diving into uncomfortable things inside of you to sort of get that performance out. So it's not really a fun job, but it is creatively very fulfilling.
What's the best work you think you've ever done? Is there one?
I don't think I've done it yet.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
I don't think I've done it yet. I think I have more in me, and hopefully I'll get that job that allows me to do that.
You are the face now, I guess, of battered animals and starving kids. You're doing a lot of work for that. Okay, if you had a choice, they're both drowning.
No.
Timmy or Lassie?
I'd figure out a way to save both. I'd figure it out.
Earth or help?
I'd figure it out.
Blub, blub. You're a vegetarian.
I'm actually not a vegetarian anymore, and this is the first time I've said that out loud.
If we had anybody watching now, this would be so exciting. All right. What made
That's why I felt safe doing it here.
I'm so glad.
When
I'm not a vegetarian at all.
This is what happened when I was breastfeeding. All of my staple vegetarian foods that I loved so much made my son miserable. He would get gassy from dairy. He would get gassy from beans. He would get gassy from everything. So, and he would cry because he was a newborn. So his pediatrician recommended that I start, introducing some meat protein to my diet. And so I did, and I just never stopped.
Well, obviously, that's nature saying.
Yeah, this baby needs something.
Baby needs
other,
something, yeah. I used to, when Melissa was born, I was on an all-fish diet. And as a matter of fact, you had the vegetable dress.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, they put me in a pantsuit made of whitefish. Jodie Foster was at that house like that, all over me. when you went from child star to sex symbol, did you ever think a lot of these guys that watch me grow up
Ugh.
are looking at me now thinking, oh, let's hope she doesn't have the diaper on.
I tried very hard to put that out of my mind,
Yeah.
for sure. But it's weird because I'll have like men that are I'm 40, I'll have men that are in their 50s that say, you know, you were my first crush. And I'm like, I was 10 and you were a teenager, if I'm getting this age difference thing correct. And that's kind of bizarre, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, it's just the kind of stuff that I tried to put out of my head for sure, because it's weird.
We have two sections of questions that we'd like to ask you. One is a section called I'm Sorry, in which anyone that you ever think you did something to that you'd like to apologize for, just right into the camera, and it gives you a chance to say, I'm sorry.
I love that. I'm sorry, Mom, actually, for being a total nightmare between the ages of 14 to 17. I know I was really awful to you. Just puberty. It didn't mean that I didn't love you. And you're my bestie now, so we came out of it. But I'm very, very sorry for the way I treated you in my pubescent years.
And the other is the reverse of that. It's called Sit on It and Rotate. It's for someone who was so mean to you or so nasty, and you just have a chance now to turn around and say,
Steve, when I was 22 and totally in love with you, and you cheated on me, absolutely destroyed me. Just letting you know. But I became stronger and figured out what I needed in a relationship. So kind of thank you, but really just sit on it and rotate.
okay, now we have Melissa, who will come in and ask you some questions. Melissa, come move over here to me.
Okay.
Alyssa, yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
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 Alyssa, meet Melissa.
We know each other.
I know, but it's fun.
Okay, so we have a game,
Okay.
and it's basically dead or alive. I'm going to give you two choices. One thing gets to continue to exist, and the other one's gone forever.
Okay.
Okay? And you got to tell me why. So, Judy Garland or Elizabeth Taylor?
I mean, I guess Judy Garland, because she was such a mess, and I feel like the legacy that Elizabeth Taylor will leave us is one of philanthropic, mindset, and all the charity work she did was amazing. So hopefully that legacy will live on.
Okay, that's good. Christmas or Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving.
Gone?
Gone. Here's the deal about Christmas. I was born 6 days before Christmas, and when I was a little girl, I thought the Christmas lights were for my birthday. I was a little upset to find out they were for Jesus. I was like, what do you mean they're for Jesus? So I don't want to take that sort of festive time of the year away. And Thanksgiving, when you're Italian, is kind of every Sunday anyway.
Fair enough. Okay. Summer Olympics or Winter Olympics?
I think Summer Olympics.
Stay or go?
Go.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I love hockey.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Lassie or Flipper?
Flipper.
Goes.
Goes.
Why?
Because I love dogs.
Okay. And the last
Duh.
one. Duh. And probably the most controversial.
Okay.
Baseball or football?
I think football. I just really like baseball.
Fair enough.
I just
like
really
football.
do.
Fair enough. You like baseball players. You liked baseball players. You had a thing for baseball players.
Well, I had a thing for baseball.
Right.
And I'd go to a lot of games, and therefore I'd meet players and wound up dating players.
Absolutely.
Right? That was like my social life.
You've been so adorable, and you came, and you are the first woman to have ever worn pajamas on the show. So let's hear it from Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano. And would you do the honors? We always end the show with our clapper. So,
Like
Okay.
clap or
Oh,
something. You get to shut down the lights.
Okay, ready?
yes.
I was just in bed with Joan. I always get this weird thing where I'm like, oh, I get nervous before I see her, and then she makes me feel so at ease, and it just kind of felt like a slumber party with a girlfriend.
I'm in shock. Alyssa has been in show business for over 30 years, and she's so calm and mellow and wise. I want her drugs, and I want them now.